Hello Africa, you're welcome once again to AgroLink, and AgroLink is a platform where we showcase and highlight agricultural activities on the continent. And for this episode, we are here at Agridep Farms to engage with a farm manager on one of the emerging and thriving industries currently in the country. And this is no other than quail production. My name is Nana Ismambasam. We'll go for a short break, and when we come back, we shall start this interesting discussion you wouldn't want to miss. Do stay tuned. As I said before the break, we are here at Agridep Farms where we are going to engage with the farm manager on quail production. And he's here with us in the person of Samuel Ochre Sapon. Yeah, welcome to AgroLink, Samuel.
Okay, thank you.
Can you give us a brief history on Agridep and how it started?
Okay, I've wanted to do agric for some time, for some years now. And then back in 2016, that was when I started seeing some advertisements on the quail. Initially, I used to ignore those notices, but some way, somehow, I decided to check it. And so I was looking for a way to start the agric journey. And so a little research, I realized that quail had some advantages to start with. And so I began from there. So in 2018, I started the business.
Okay. So it was based on the advantage that you chose quail instead of any other poultry?
Yes.
Okay. So in your opinion, to me, I think quail isn't a popular industry here yet. It's thriving.
Yes.
It's emerging. What would you say is the state of quail production here currently?
I'll say that the state of quail production in Ghana, it's an emerging one, yet a growing one. A lot of people don't know much about it. It's mostly popular among the elites. But I believe that if we keep on doing the hard work, we'll be able to get the masses well informed about this industry.
Okay.
Thank you.
So you mentioned earlier that it's more popular within the elites. So do you think this is as a result of the pricing, or people are just not reading enough about it?
Okay, first of all, I think because it's not so common, it's those who love research that will come across it. So those who use the online platforms, the libraries, those who are always in search of knowledge, those are the people who are most likely to come across it. Apart from that, for the masses, they mostly come across it through the television and then the other media platforms, but mostly common among the elites. And another thing too is they will best appreciate the price, and then because the main benefit of the quail is the health benefit it comes with. And so I think that they will best appreciate some of these things. So thank you.
Okay. Right, so you just mentioned the health benefits associated with quails.
Quails, okay.
Can you mention any other differences between quails and the other poultry? Let's say chicken. Let's say chicken.
The difference between quail and chicken. First of all, about the production. Quails mature faster. In about 6 to 8 weeks, you should have them starting to lay for you. Unlike chicken, where it's about 4 to 6 months, depending on the breed. The feed consumption in quail is lower, about 30 to 40 grams daily for an adult quail. And for chicken is 90 to 120, depending on the breed. And another thing too is a little space can house a lot of quails because they are smaller sized birds. Unlike chicken, you need bigger sized areas to house them. So these are a few. Another thing too is the quails are more hygienic because of the measures we go about raising them.
Okay, what are these measures?
Chicken has a lot of antibiotics, medications all the time. There's a whole chart you follow if you are doing chicken production. But for quail, there is no regular medication, no vaccination. It's just the feeding and then water and then good sanitation. The reason is they are resistant to a lot of the poultry diseases. An ailment that will easily kill chicken should they attack a quail, there's more chance of the quail surviving.
Okay.
Thank you.
Most African leaders are always complaining about the level of graduate unemployment, and they are looking for ways of ensuring that the youth are well equipped when they come out of school so that they can start something on their own. And agriculture seems to be one of the thriving industries that has the capacity to house all these people. So if, let's say, an individual wants to start quail production, what are some of the basic things the person should know before venturing into this industry?
Okay, I'll say that first of all, you need knowledge about it. So you could try some online searches or your own search. And then if you have an opportunity to pay a visit to a quail farm, you could do that so that you receive some practical experience before you start your own venture. As to the very things you need, you should have access to feed. You should know where you can always get your feed supply. And then you need some cages. And then once you get your stock, your foundation stock or your beds, you are good to start.
Okay, so when we talk about feed, what are some of the constituents? Is it the same as what chickens are fed with, or it's very different since quails have a higher nutritional value? Do they have something different that they eat?
Ideally, we're supposed to have been using a specially formulated feed for quails. Because it's an emerging industry in Ghana, not much attention has been paid to it from the bigger corporations. And so we tend to lean on the poultry, the chicken industry. So we use the normal chicken feed.
Okay. And how often are they fed?
You can schedule your own feeding.
Okay.
You have your own feeding schedules. Morning, afternoon, morning around 7, 8, and then afternoon, late afternoon around 3, 4. Or you could also do it 3 times a day. I do it twice a day. So it depends on you. For some people too who are very busy, probably you go to work, you leave early in the morning and come back. You could try and put all the feed in the morning and then leave them and come back. Only that you may have someone to pass by in case of emergencies.
Okay. And when it comes to the housing infrastructure, realize that with chicken, they can all be placed in one room, which is enclosed, and then they are fine. However, I realize that over here, they are in mini cages. Is it because you don't have a large number, or it's because they have to be separated? Or there are measures you've put in place so that they are separated to ensure that they grow well, or maybe because of cannibalism? What are some of the reasons why?
Okay. The choice of cage is, it just depends on who is starting it or the farm.
Okay.
I chose what I'm using, first of all, so that I could take advantage of height to accommodate more beds.
Okay.
But apart from that, there's no any special thing with the floorings.
Okay.
For a floor of mine, I can pack in about 50, 60 beds, which is okay. So I decided to use 4 floors just to take 200 beds, just with this height. So if I get another height, I can take more beds.
Okay. So is it possible to have different ages and different sizes all in the same space?
I don't advise that.
Okay.
The older ones will have to fight or bully the younger ones. So ideally put them, same badges live together. Different badges don't join a different badge.
Okay. And there was recently a movement to promote quail production, especially in the northern region. And it was stated one of the main reasons for this was because of the weather conditions. Apparently, quails require a certain amount of moisture and heat for them to thrive well. Over here, it's not the same. The amount of heat that is up there is different from what's here. Do you think these are some of the reasons why quail production isn't as popular here, maybe in Accra, compared to maybe in the northern regions?
I would say that talking about the popularity, it's across the nation. But one thing that worries the quail, which is not just with the quail, it works with chicken and any other industry, is cold seasons in the year, lowest production. So if you have a more an egg, it's a place where there's more heat and all that, it helps.
It helps.
So if there's probably cold nights, you could decide to have some warm for them. It depends on the farmer.
Okay. And when it comes to their hatching, do you use the traditional means of hatching them, or you use an incubator to ensure that they hatch faster?
Okay. These birds are not broody birds.
Okay.
So you have to gather the eggs from them and then set it in an incubator. You can also try the local chicken or a fowl but that is not for a business. If you want to run an active business, you have to take advantage of the incubator, where the incubator can take a lot of eggs at a time. Within 14 to 17 days, the day-old should come out, and then you're moving.
Okay. So speaking about incubators with the heating system, if there is during cold weather conditions and all, how expensive is this venture? So that was what the question was about.
Okay. It depends on the aspect of the business you want to go into. You can go into the egg side. You can go into the meat side. You can also go into the hatchery side. So it's those who are into the hatchery side necessarily need an incubator. Those who do the egg, some of them just buy only females and then they are good to go. Those who do the meat too will require an incubator. So it's those who do the hatchery and those who do the meat, they will require an incubator. But for those, some people just want eggs to sell. They don't want any other trouble.
Okay. So the choice of path, I think the available market influences the choice of path. In your opinion, which one has the largest market?
The largest market, if I'm talking from, let me try and be biased from my end, I would say that is the hatchery. Followed by the meat, and then the egg will be the last on my list. But for someone else, he may rank the egg as on top of his chart. It depends on
where you find
yourself. But where I find myself, I realize that I can explore the hatchery side much better than the egg side.
Okay. And everybody enters into business with the aim of making profits, not to make loss. How profitable is this venture? Let's take it from the three aspects that you mentioned earlier, from the hatchery, from the meat, and the eggs. Okay.
Let me just give for the eggs.
Okay.
Assuming you have 100 females, considering a 70% laying rate daily, so that means that every day you pick 70 eggs out of 100 females. So a month, that is 70 crates. You should make about 50% profit after taking out your recurrent costs every month. You should make a leftover of 50% on a monthly basis. That's from the egg, and that is provided you can always sell the eggs. Because if you keep the eggs, fertile eggs, after 7 days begin to incubate. But when it's outside the incubator, because the conditions are not right, it tends to get spoiled. But then for the table eggs, they stay longer. And if you want them to stay much longer, you have to use a freezing system for the eggs. And then for the hatchery, it's much profitable than selling the eggs. Running the meat too will give you much profit than doing the egg. For example, if I have 30 eggs and I'm selling an egg, that 30 eggs is a crate. So I'm selling a crate for 15 cedis. But I decide to hatch them. Out of the 30 eggs, let's say I get 20 hatching, I lose 10 eggs. Or let me say I get 25 hatching. Now I brood them for 2 weeks and I lose 5 of them along the way. So I'm left with 20. And I decide that at 2 weeks I saw one for 5 cedis. That should give me 100 cedis. So the egg guy is getting 15 cedis for that 30 eggs. The hatchery person is getting 100 cedis for 2 weeks old. If he's doing 1 week old, that is 80 cedis. The meat person too, what he does is he is always producing birds. The hatchery may sometimes want to wait for others and then process on others. But for the meat, he always should have meat available. So if he's also able to raise 20 birds at, let's say, 6 weeks, if your dieting, your feeding is good, you should get a good weight at 6 weeks. But let's say 8 weeks. So that same 20 cedis, he sells the meat for 5 or 6 cedis. That's 100 or 120 cedis. So the meat side and the hatchery side, I would say, is better or more profitable than the egg.
Okay, so will you say there's a market for quail production in Ghana currently?
Yes, there is market, but you have to do a bit of hard work to find where yours is.
Well, no venture is easy.
Yes, sure.
And I think with chicken production, issues with feed. How to make sure that the feed they are fed with doesn't have toxins that will affect the chicken and later affect human beings.
Okay.
What are some of the, in line with this, what are some of the risks associated with quail production?
Quails also have the issue of cannibalism. I think it's something, not just animals, I think it runs everywhere, where the senior will want to bully the junior. So normally if you put different batches together, the older ones will want to fight the younger ones. And then sometimes too, if the colors are not so even, they want to attack the fewer colored amongst that particular stock. So cannibalism. But the way out is don't overcrowd them, and then don't mix two different batches together, and then don't sometimes too, the reason for the fighting is where there's a calcium deficiency in their feed.
Okay.
So they may even want to eat their eggs. It happens in chicken too as well. Where there's a calcium deficiency in the feed, they want to, the shells have a calcium, so they want to feed on the egg too as well. So just make sure that the right feed is given, and you are good to go. Don't overcrowd them, don't mix two different batches together.
Before we go on the break, what are some of the constituents of their feed to ensure that they have all the nutrients necessary?
Okay, for quails, I advise you use both the broiler starter and then the layer mash. Combine the two. You start them with a day old with the broiler starter. The reason is the protein content is higher with the broiler starter, so you can start them off well. You give that for the first 8 weeks so that their body is well formed and ready to lay. Within that 8 weeks, they will start dropping eggs at 6 weeks. But don't change to the layer mash right away. Still put them on the broiler starter. 2 weeks into the laying, that should give you the 8th week. Then you can change to the layer mash. The layer mash is specially formulated for laying birds. So once you give it to a chicken, it means that whatever rate it was laying, it shoots it up for the chicken. Layer mash is used for turkeys, other kinds of poultry, so it works with quails too as well. But the thing with quail is their protein requirement is higher than chicken. They require about 26% or 24% protein. And chicken is lower. So if you switch to the layer mash and decide to use the layer mash from that 8 weeks to about a year, you realize that they will reduce in body size. They'll be laying all right, but they'll become slimmer. So if you are selling them off as meat, you don't get very good price. So at some points in the production cycle, you can be switching to broiler starter to get their weight back, and then you switch back. And during the times you are switching, the broiler starter will not affect the laying much. Because their system is used to the layer. And then the broiler starter is not that it's something harmful or something. It's just to control bring their weight a bit up, and then you go back to the layer.
So constant monitoring.
Yes.
Depend on the purpose, Sure. So I realized over the course of my research, that there should be a ratio when it comes to the male and female distribution in cages. Okay. Can you give us more insight on that? Okay.
To have a good fertility rate, you should combine 1 male to 3 or 5 females. So 1:3, 1:4, or 1:5 should give you a good fertility rate. However, the female's ability to lay does not depend on the presence of the male. The male is just to give fertile eggs. So once you take the males out of the females, they will still lay eggs because of the feed. So it's the feed that gives the eggs. The males give the fertile egg.
Oh, okay. And is there any other reason for this ratio?
The reason for the ratio is you don't have too many males in that stock. The more males, the more fights that will be happening. So you have to reduce the males.
So to reduce, okay. We shall go for a short break, and when we come back, we shall move to the challenging parts of quail production. You're welcome back from the break. You can follow this discussion on our social media platforms such as Association of African Universities on Facebook and YouTube, and on our dedicated websites as well. Okay. You're welcome back from the break. Yeah. Before the break, we're discussing the risks, and now we are going to move on to the challenges. You've been in this business for at least 2 years.
Yes.
Yes. What are some of the challenges that you faced?
Okay, I'll say that the biggest of the challenges with quail is the marketing, especially of the eggs.
Exactly.
Mainly because it's an emerging industry and not a lot of people know about it and appreciate the value of the eggs. And so I only advise that before you start it, if you could do your own market research so that you are well informed and then have some possible interest or interested people to help you out once you start producing. You could as well get health institutions, hospitals, clinics, pharmacies, so that they could retail the eggs for you. Because it has a lot of health benefits. It helps treat allergies, people with ulcer, balances cholesterol level, and others too as well. So since these people are health institutions, they could take it from you and then retail it for you, depending on the agreement you have with them. And then another challenge, I would say, because the industry I mentioned earlier, because the industry is not well established in Ghana yet, there's no any specially formulated feed. And so sometimes the chicken feed doesn't help us so much. So you have some fluctuations to the egg production. But it depends on you to gather some more experience or expertise with handling the birds so that you'll be able to have a good laying rate. 70-80%, and I'll say you're in business.
Okay. So as you said, this is a growing industry currently in the country, and in some developed countries, the feathers from the chicken or from poultry are used or are recycled into something else, which serves as an end product for another process. And I realized that because the quails are fed with high proteins, there are droppings bought for maybe other agricultural purposes like planting, or even or to use as fertilizers for other production phases, or it's just wasted.
You can use the droppings for a few things. One of them would be for manure for the crop. Another is you can explore the fishery side with the droppings. Interestingly, it's done where you can use either chicken droppings or quail droppings too as well to feed fish, particularly catfish. You can try that. And the crop I've already mentioned.
Okay. So do you have people who come to collect it, or you just...
with my caging system, it will have to take a long time before, and you don't get only droppings. I use a bedding material of sand and a bit of sawdust. I wanted them to have a feel of the natural environment, so with mine, I barely do any sweeping. But for those who use the cage system where they are collectors, so once the quail bird drops, the collector receives it. With that one, you can put that together, dry it, bag it, whoever wants it, you talk about it.
Then it looks like there are lots of other ventures for people to enter,
Yes.
such as the feed. Someone can be in charge of producing feeds just for the quail.
Yes.
Someone can be in charge of processing the droppings for other purposes as
And even
well.
with the eggs, you can try some things with it.
Okay, such as?
So probably some cooking delicacies
okay.
with the egg. I've also heard of egg powder.
Egg powder, yes.
Yes, I don't know how it's done, but I've heard of it. I'm interactions with other farmers, and then people are using employing different strategies to help them. And then the meat too, you could have some grilled joints. That is processing, value addition.
Okay, so there are lots of opportunities available. Even some people use, I don't know if it's possible for quails, some people use the shells from chicken to produce powdered soup.
You can.
Yes, quails as well.
I think you can. Once it's
Shell,
it's
you
the
should be
same
able to.
constituent you can use.
Okay. And is there an association for promoting the interest of quail farmers currently?
Okay. Currently, there's none I know of, mainly because it's a young industry. However, we have a lot of online platforms that connects us, the WhatsApps, the Facebook, and so I have connections to a tall list of quail farmers. But to have a formal association, I've not seen any yet.
Okay, how relevant are these online platforms?
I'll say that it has been very helpful. Sometimes for networking, you need some assistance on your farm, and you can ask for others to assist you. You need some assistance to sell it. You can post there, someone else can pick it up for you. So we've been doing that, but to have a formal setup for that, I'm not sure of that.
Okay. So do you think there's a need for a formal body for quail farmers?
I'll say that it will help. Should we do that, it will help.
Okay. All right. And let's say there are individuals who are watching, they finish school, or maybe they studied at it, or they're interested in venturing into quail production, probably from listening to you. Can they come here to come and learn from you? Can they, like internship avenues for people to come and learn? Or if, let's say, people already in the industry can come and take, or maybe learn one or two things from you. Is there such an avenue?
Okay, thank you. I'll say that to anyone out there who wants to start quail production, we are there for you. We can supply you with chicks on order. So, and then any knowledge you need on production, you can come around. We'll have the time for you, take you through, ask all the questions, be patient enough to give you all the answers. We can supply you the chicks, no matter the number. We'll find a way around it. The highest we've done with the supply at a time was one time where someone wanted 500 chicks. We're able to meet that demand for the person, so we'll be able to. If we alone cannot help, we can work with an external hatchery, but we can still supply for it.
I mean, you have a hatchery that can hatch over...
Yes, we have an incubator too that can take a lot of the eggs at a time, about 3,000 of the eggs at a time.
Okay.
So.
And finally, what are your final words, or what are the final words you have for individuals who are already in the quail production process, one way or the other, or who want to expand it, or people who are looking for collaborations?
Okay, I'll say that let's keep on working together as farmers, and then let us not give up by the few challenges we do face in production. We are the backbone of the economy, so let's keep pushing. With some efforts and some necessary measures, we should be able to achieve the successes we hope for.
Thank you very much, Samuel, for your time. And we hope that your doors will always be open for individuals who are interested in learning or venturing into quail production.
That door, we never shut it.
Okay. Thank you very much. This brings us to the end of this edition of AgroLink. And AgroLink is a platform where we showcase and highlight agricultural activities on the continent. Today's discussion has been on quail production in Ghana with the help of the Agridep farm manager in the person of Samuel Ochre Sapon. You can follow many more of such educative content on AUTV platforms such as the Association of African Universities platforms on Facebook and YouTube. We'll bring you more educative content